They will try to break you, not with a sword, not with open confrontation, but with something far more poisonous, far more invisible. Whispers, delays, distractions, and betrayals disguised as kindness. Most people think destruction happens in a single moment, a fall, a failure, a collapse. But Machiavelli knew better. Collapse doesn't come from a direct strike. It comes from erosion. It comes from the tiny cuts you ignore, the false smiles you accept, and the moments of silence when you expected loyalty but received nothing. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You will let them. You will let them until you decide that the version of you they can touch no longer exists. This is the first law of becoming unbreakable. To kill the old self, the soft, hopeful version of you who still believes someone will come save you. No one is coming. No friend, no lover, no family member, no leader. The world does not respect your pain. It respects your power. It respects results. It respects endurance. Look around you. The weak beg for sympathy. They cry out. They post their pain. They scream for validation. And what happens? The world scrolls past. Their suffering becomes background noise, but when a man suffers in silence, when he bleeds without complaint, when he walks forward while exhausted and remains calm in storms that destroy others, then he becomes something the world cannot ignore. That's what Machiavelli understood. Mercy doesn't make you respected. Results do. Noise doesn't make you feared. Silence does. Predictability doesn't make you untouchable. Being unreadable does. So if you want to become unbreakable, stop thinking the battle will come in one dramatic moment. Understand that the war is already happening around you, every single day, in the little things. The people who smile at you, but secretly resent you. The friends who disappear the moment you need them. The promises made but never delivered. The opportunities delayed until they vanish. This is death by 1,000 cuts. And unless you harden yourself, you will bleed out quietly. Machiavelli taught that the most dangerous enemies are not the ones who declare themselves. It's the ones who hide in shadows, who approach you with warmth but quietly sharpen the knife behind their back. And in today's world, that knife is not steel. It's doubt. It's distraction. It's fake support. It's silence when you needed a voice. So how do you resist? You resist by evolution, by becoming the type of person who cannot be touched by whispers, who cannot be swayed by betrayal, who does not crumble in the absence of applause. This means learning to smile while you bleed, to walk while you're exhausted, to stand in calm silence while storms destroy those around you. And here's the paradox. When they see this in you, when they realize you cannot be broken by disappointment, by neglect, by betrayal, then suddenly the power shifts. They regret ever thinking you were soft, because the truth is, softness invites attack, but steel invites caution. To be unbreakable is not to be loud, not to be seen, not to beg for acknowledgement. It is to disappear into your own silence and come back forged like iron, sharper than before, colder than before. And so, part one is this. Recognize that the attacks will not be direct. They will be small, subtle, and disguised as kindness. If you want to be unbreakable, you must stop reacting to these small cuts with anger or despair. Instead, you absorb them. You use them. You allow each disappointment to carve away the old version of you. Every silence when you expected loyalty, every delay when you needed progress, every betrayal when you trusted. Let those moments bury the softer version of you. Because becoming unbreakable begins with a funeral. The funeral of the fragile self. No one becomes unbreakable by chance. You are not born hard. You are born soft, needy, and hopeful. The world does not care about that version of you. So let it die. Stand in the whispers, let them mock, let them doubt, let them vanish. Because while they do, you are not collapsing. You are building. You are becoming unreadable, untouchable, unbreakable. That is the first step. The war has already started. And if you've been listening closely, you know exactly what's at stake. If you want to be unbreakable, you must hold a funeral. Not for a loved one, not for an enemy, but for the weakest version of yourself. That hopeful boy who thought the world owed him kindness. That needy version who waited for rescue, for applause, for someone to believe in him. That forgiving version who gave second chances to people who never deserved the first. He has to die. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote that power belongs not to those who wait to be saved, but to those who save themselves. The weak cling to excuses. The strong bury them. And here's the brutal truth. No matter how powerful your body becomes, no matter how much you train, no matter how much you build, if your mind is still attached to weakness, to validation, to comfort, you will never be unbreakable. The first enemy is not outside you, it's inside your mind. It's the voice that whispers, "Take it easy. You've been through a lot. It's okay to rest." It's the voice that pleads, "Don't be too hard. Forgive again. Wait again. Hope again." Kill that voice. That voice is the leash. That voice is the chain around your throat. Machiavelli did not believe in pity. He believed in execution. You must separate emotion from execution. To rule, to rise, to conquer, you must act even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. That is the real test. Everyone wants to be strong until it costs them who they are. But here is the secret. If you want to be unbreakable, you must become someone entirely new. The old you, the version addicted to validation, must burn. Because validation is weakness. It wants to be liked. It wants to be accepted. It wants to be safe. But Machiavelli knew you cannot be liked and feared at the same time. And only fear commands respect when everything else collapses. So what must you do? You must silence the urge to explain yourself. You must kill the instinct to be understood. You must erase the need to be saved. Listen carefully. No one will save you. Not your family, not your friends, not life. They might care. They might love you. But love does not shield you from chaos. Discipline does. Detachment does. Focus does. And those things are built alone, quietly, ruthlessly. If you want to be unbreakable, you must become boring to the weak, but terrifying to the unaware. You stop chasing drama. You outgrow it. You stop responding to disrespect. You eliminate it. You stop proving yourself. You endure silently until your very existence proves what words never could. That's what breaks them, because they expect your collapse. And you give them silence. They want your reaction. You give them absence. They beg for your weakness. You deliver nothing. Every morning you wake up and you kill the weaker version of yourself again. The version that hesitates, the version that doubts, the version that craves comfort. That is your daily funeral. Not once, not twice, but every single day. This is the cycle. Hesitation is weakness. Emotion is leverage. Kindness, when not used strategically, is currency for the poor. If you want to be unbreakable, you must become calculated. Every step intentional. Every word rare. Every move quiet. They should not even know what stage you're in. Are you broken? Are you building? Are you recovering? They should not know. You're not in recovery. You're in transformation. And they don't deserve a front row seat. Let them mock you while you suffer. Let them laugh while you disappear. Let them speak while you train. Because when you return, they won't recognize you. They will look for the old you, the soft you, the fragile one they could touch. And when they realize that version died long ago, they will regret ever underestimating you. Be ruthless. Hold the funeral every single day until no weakness remains. That is the price of becoming unbreakable. Everyone wants to be strong, until it costs them who they are. That's the true test. Strength is not in the gym. It's not in the loud speeches. It's not in the motivational words that sound powerful but cost nothing. Strength begins when your emotions collide with your mission, and the mission wins. Machiavelli understood something most people never will. The enemy of power is not outside of you. It is inside your emotions. Think about it. How many times did you hesitate because you didn't feel like it? How many times did you skip the work, delay the move, avoid the decision because your mood wasn't right? That hesitation, that pause, that moment of weakness is the gap where your enemies grow strong. Because while you hesitate, they advance. While you rest, they sharpen their weapons. While you explain why you couldn't, someone else is doing it. And in the end, history doesn't care about excuses. It only remembers results. This is the test. Can you act without the permission of your emotions? Can you execute even when you feel broken? Can you move even when you feel empty? That's what makes you unbreakable. The weak say, "I'll do it when I feel ready." The unbreakable say, "I'll do it especially when I don't feel ready." Because those moments of resistance, those days when you're tired, uninspired, betrayed, and broken, those are the moments that separate the ones who collapse from the ones who rise. Machiavelli was ruthless because he removed emotion from execution. He understood that if a ruler waits to feel confident before acting, his enemies will destroy him. If a leader waits for loyalty before moving, betrayal will consume him. And if a man waits to feel like working, like fighting, like enduring, he will remain a prisoner to his own moods. But you want to be unbreakable. That means the opposite. You become the commander of your emotions, not their slave. You don't let sadness stop you. You weaponize it into clarity. You don't let anger control you. You bury it and convert it into precision. You don't let exhaustion collapse you. You walk anyway because every step while tired builds the discipline that destroys weakness. That is the test. It's not about shouting. It's not about noise. It's about cold execution in silence. Imagine two men. One acts only when he feels inspired. He works when motivated. He trains when excited. He moves when conditions are perfect. The other acts regardless. He works when tired. He trains when uninspired. He moves when no one claps. Which one will survive the storm? Which one will build empires? Which one will leave his name in history? You already know the answer. This is why the old version of you, the one that waited for motivation, had to die in the funeral. Because that version would never pass the test. The test demands sacrifice. It demands that you silence the urge to rest when you haven't earned it, that you crush the instinct to explain yourself, that you kill the addiction to be understood. Because the truth is, you don't need to be understood. You don't need to be liked. You don't need to be saved. You need to execute. You need to move. You need to endure. Every single time you choose execution over emotion, you forge another layer of armor. Every time you push when your feelings scream for comfort, you carve another piece of the unbreakable self. And soon, your enemies won't recognize you. They will look for your reaction, and you'll give them nothing. They will beg for your weakness, and you'll deliver silence. They will expect your collapse, and you'll still be standing. This is not motivation. This is transformation. You're not surviving anymore. you're outlasting. And once you understand that, once you pass the test, once you learn to execute without the permission of your emotions, you will see what Machiavelli saw. The one who feels less wins more. Power doesn't always come from what you say. Often, it comes from what you refuse to say. In a world addicted to noise, silence is a weapon. Think about it. Most people cannot endure silence. They rush to fill every pause, every gap, every second of stillness with explanations, excuses, laughter, or meaningless words. But the unbreakable, they turn silence into a battlefield. Machiavelli understood this deeply. A ruler who speaks too much exposes his weakness. A leader who explains himself too often shows insecurity. A man who constantly seeks to be understood hands his enemies the keys to his mind. Silence protects you. It forces others to reveal themselves first. It makes them uncomfortable. And in that discomfort, they make mistakes. This is the war of silence. When you do not react, when you do not answer, when you refuse to explain yourself, you strip away the power of those who seek to manipulate you. Their guilt trips collapse. Their provocations dissolve. Their questions become weapons that backfire. Because the truth is this: the more you speak, the more predictable you become. The more predictable you are, the easier you are to control. But when you master silence, you become unreadable, untouchable, unstoppable. Think of obscurity as your shield. Not everyone deserves to know what you think, what you feel, or what you plan. The unbreakable do not broadcast their emotions. They do not announce their moves. They operate in shadows until it's too late for the enemy to react. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strategy. When you're silent, people invent stories about you. They project their fears, their doubts, their fantasies onto your absence of words. And in doing so, they reveal more about themselves than you ever reveal about you. That is power. The power of obscurity. Look at the weak. They post everything. They share everything. They cannot keep a victory private. They cannot hide a wound. They bleed out in public, hoping someone will care. But caring is a luxury the strong do not seek. Because attention is cheap. Respect is expensive. And silence earns both. You want to be unbreakable? Then you must learn to disappear at will. Not vanish from existence, but vanish from accessibility. You become difficult to read, difficult to reach, difficult to predict. When you walk away without a word, you leave others in chaos. When you let them wonder instead of answering, you control the narrative without even speaking. When you choose obscurity, you rob them of their favorite weapon, your reactions. This is why Machiavelli advised rulers to be feared more than loved. Because fear grows in silence. Fear grows in unpredictability. Fear grows when people cannot measure your next move. Now imagine yourself in a confrontation. Your enemy screams, insults, threatens, provokes. They want your rage, your response, your reaction. But you give them nothing. You stay calm, silent, cold. You let their words echo in the void. You let them collapse under the weight of their own noise. And when they finally run out of energy, when they realize their attacks had no effect, you strike, not with emotion, but with precision. Not with weakness, but with control. That is the war of silence. Most people don't lose because they lack power. They lose because they leak it. They lose it in gossip. They lose it in over-explaining. They lose it in seeking validation. They lose it by speaking when they should have stayed silent. But you will not. You will guard your words as if they were weapons. You will use silence as a sword. And you will cloak yourself in obscurity until the world no longer knows if you are predictable flesh or impenetrable stone. Because here's the truth. The one who speaks less controls more. The one who reveals nothing dictates everything. The one who hides his emotions and buries his intentions, he becomes untouchable. This is not about being passive. It's about being strategic. You're not weak because you don't react. You're strong because you choose not to react. That choice is control. That control is power. And that power is the foundation of becoming unbreakable. Here is a truth most people will never accept. Loyalty is temporary. It feels permanent when spoken. It feels unbreakable when sworn. But the reality is, loyalty lasts only until it is tested. And when tested, most loyalties collapse. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He wrote that men are loyal only while it is convenient, while it is profitable, while it benefits them. But once loyalty demands sacrifice, once it costs them comfort, safety, or gain, the same mouths that swore fidelity will speak betrayal. Look back at your own life. How many people promised they would stay, yet disappeared when storms arrived? How many swore friendship until silence replaced communication? How many said forever, but chose themselves when the price was too high? You see, loyalty is fragile. It bends in the wind of fear. It breaks under the weight of temptation. It dissolves in the fire of adversity. If you build your strength on the loyalty of others, you build on sand. One betrayal, one abandonment, one desertion, and you collapse with them. But you want to be unbreakable. That means you must master the one loyalty that never collapses. Loyalty to yourself. When everyone else leaves, when every promise shatters, when every alliance burns, you remain. You stand. You endure. Because your foundation is not their words. It is your discipline. It is your code. It is your relentless refusal to surrender. This is where self-reliance is born. Self-reliance is not arrogance. It is not the fantasy of needing no one. It is the cold understanding that if everyone fails you, you can still carry yourself through fire. It is the discipline of training when no one watches. It is the consistency of moving forward when no one encourages you. It is the commitment to your mission even when no one believes in it. Because belief is cheap, but endurance, that is priceless. The weak cry when they are abandoned. The unbreakable sharpen their teeth in solitude. The weak collapse when they are betrayed. The unbreakable use betrayal as fuel, as proof, as fire to carve their destiny deeper into stone. Think about history's giants. They were not carried to greatness by loyalty. They were not crowned by the support of others. They were opposed, resisted, betrayed. And still, they rose. Because self-reliance is the antidote to betrayal. It is the cure to abandonment. It is the power that makes you untouchable by the failures of others. Here's the paradox. When you no longer need loyalty, when you no longer depend on anyone's promises, that is when people respect you most. That is when allies appear. That is when even enemies hesitate. Why? Because they sense that you cannot be destroyed by their absence. You cannot be bribed by their presence. You cannot be broken by their betrayal. This is the rise of self-reliance. It means that your energy is yours. Your strength is yours. Your vision is yours. And no matter who abandons you, you will keep building, keep moving, keep enduring. Self-reliance transforms you into something terrifying. A man who needs nothing but his own will to advance. A leader who cannot be manipulated by promises. A fighter who cannot be weakened by desertion. A strategist who cannot be cornered by betrayal. This doesn't mean you reject alliances. It means alliances are luxuries, not necessities. It means you welcome loyalty when it comes, but you never collapse when it leaves. It means you are always prepared to stand alone. because only the one who can stand alone deserves to lead others. Only the one who can endure abandonment without breaking deserves true power. Only the one who does not need loyalty can command it. So ask yourself, when everyone leaves, will you collapse, or will you rise? When every promise shatters, will you beg for comfort, or will you sharpen your silence and continue? When betrayal arrives, will you weep, or will you burn the bridge and keep marching forward? The answer must be clear, because loyalty will collapse, but self-reliance, that is eternal. And when you master it, when you no longer need the promises of others, when you rise in solitude, you will discover the deepest form of freedom, the freedom of being unbreakable. In the end, all roads lead here. The battlefield clears, the noise fades, the allies vanish, the enemies retreat, and you are left standing alone. This is where most collapse, because they fear solitude more than death. They cling to crowds, to validation, to companionship. Thinking numbers mean strength, but numbers lie. Crowds scatter, companions betray, validation evaporates. What remains is the one truth, the unbreakable walk alone. Machiavelli wrote that the prince must stand even when abandoned, that his power cannot depend on others but must come from his own discipline, his own strategy, his own ruthless clarity. And that is your destiny. Walking alone is not loneliness. It is liberation. It means no chain binds you. It means no betrayal defines you. It means no absence weakens you. When you walk alone, every step is yours. Every victory is yours. Every scar is yours. And no one can take that away. People fear solitude because it strips away illusions. In solitude, you see yourself clearly. No masks, no noise, no distractions. And when you can face that silence without flinching, when you can walk into the night without needing company, when you can build without applause, endure without comfort, and win without witnesses, you are untouchable. Because untouchable is not about walls. It is not about hiding. It is not about rejecting others. It is about control. Control over your mind, control over your emotions, control over your destiny. The untouchable cannot be broken by whispers. They cannot be manipulated by guilt. They cannot be enslaved by validation. The untouchable belong to no one, and that is why they cannot be conquered. Look at those who are ruled by attachment. They are easy prey. Threaten their relationships and they panic. Threaten their image and they collapse. Threaten their reputation and they beg for forgiveness. But the unbreakable, threaten them with solitude and they laugh. Because solitude is where they were forged. Solitude is where they discovered their true strength. Solitude is where they became untouchable. This is the final transformation. Not just strength, not just endurance, but transcendence. You are no longer playing the same game as the rest. While they chase applause, you chase discipline. While they beg for loyalty, you build self-reliance. While they collapse in silence, you wage war in it. And when the world tests you, when betrayal, loss, pain, and abandonment come, you will not break. You will not beg. You will not collapse. You will rise without noise, without help, without permission. That is the Machiavellian way. That is what it means to become unbreakable. Understand this. Most men are ruled by fear. The fear of pain, the fear of failure, the fear of walking alone. But you are different because you do not fear solitude. You do not fear silence. You do not fear the collapse of loyalty. You have mastered detachment. You have conquered your emotions. You have chosen execution over hesitation. You have embraced the war of silence. You have risen through betrayal into self-reliance. And now, you walk alone. Not as a victim, not as a ghost, but as a force, a shadow with iron in its bones, a storm with fire in its veins, a figure so cold, so disciplined, so relentless that no weapon can pierce you. This is not survival. This is domination. This is not resilience. This is power. And when the world whispers that you should soften, that you should seek comfort, that you should return to weakness, you will not listen. Because you have become what few ever dare to be. You have become untouchable. You have become unbreakable. And from this day forward, the world will bend, but you will not. The world will bleed, but you will not. The world will break, but you will not. You will walk alone, and in doing so, you will walk above.